worldly world. It's such a worldly world, yeah. It's a worldly world. I'm living in a cold, cold world, yeah. It's a worldly world. It's such a worldly world, yeah. It's a worldly world. I'm living in a cold, cold world, yeah. Hello and welcome to the Worldly World podcast. This is more than likely your first time hearing my voice and even clicking on this podcast. Whether you're clicking on it on YouTube or listening to it on however you listen to podcasts, I would like to say thank you and welcome. Welcome to the W family. This podcast is a Christian based and religious based podcast, but our topics aren't just held in that box of religion and Christianity. Our topics range from things that happen in the world. We talk about world things, but also we talk about things that we as people go through on a day to day basis. So, as this is the first episode, I would like to introduce myself. I am your host, Jaden. A little bit about me so we feel comfortable, so we feel like a family, because that's how I want my listeners to feel. We are a family. You are a part of the W family. And before I even introduce myself, if you would like to know more about us or even suggest some topics that we talk about in this duration of this podcast, you can send it on Instagram or on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram, on Twitter, even on YouTube at the Worldly World Podcast or the Worldly World Pod. Uh, we would love to talk to you and hear your feedback. So, a little bit about me. I am your host, Jaden. I'm an entrepreneur. I own multiple companies. I love Jesus. I love love. So, enough about me. Let's jump straight into this first topic and this first episode of this podcast. One, I hope everybody's day or night or wherever you're listening, whatever time zone, I just hope that you're doing good. And our first topic will be flow and jump out. Sometimes we as people, I know I struggle with this, we have a fear or are scared to jump out into the unknown. For example, I was a little scared. I wouldn't accept and say that I'm scared because you also, to accept the reality, you have to almost get out of your own way and get out of your own self and out of your own body and see, okay, maybe I am fearing or scared of walking into the unknown because I'm always in control or because I don't know what the unknown has to offer. For example, I was scared and a little fearful of starting this podcast. And I didn't just want to jump out, but I know I needed to because everything doesn't have to be perfect. Everything doesn't have to be perfect. I want to say that one more time because that is really speaking to me and I hope it's reaching someone else. Everything doesn't have to be perfect. Sometimes we want everything to be perfect before we jump out or before we even start something. And the reality and the truth is, everything doesn't have to be perfect. We don't have to have everything together before we do whatever that is. For example, I didn't have to have everything in alignment or everything perfect to start this podcast. I'm actually glad that I just jumped and start because I don't know who this is touching and I don't know what this can do for me, or even I don't even know how much this is helping me, but it's helping me already. You know, as people, we battle and struggle with things on a day to day basis, whether we inform and tell the people around us and our peers, or whether we go and battle that in silence. We all have something. We all aren't perfect. So sometimes stepping out into the unknown helps to understand what you don't know. What you're trying to figure out may help guide you, may help you navigate, and may even help you with your problems. And I know the unknown can be scary because as people, not everyone, but a lot of us like to be in control. Whether you realize that or not, you like to figure out or know what place you're eating at, you know? Why not just look in the unknown, you know? I'm using this as an example. Why not walk in the unknown and just go? Even with this, even with me talking right now, I know I like things to be perfect. So, as all transparency with my listeners, that's a promise I will keep with you guys. I will make a vow to y'all that I will always be transparent with y'all because we are a family. In all transparency, though, I've done this podcast and done this episode multiple times because I wanted it to be perfect. But that's why this topic is so touching for also me, but I feel like for a lot of people, because perfectness is truly in the eye of the beholder. But not only that, the more you practice and the more you stay consistent in something, the more you will perfect that. Whether that's perfecting your craft in whatever you do, whether that's art, whether that's business, whether that's singing, whether that's being a creator, whether that's dancing, whether that's whatever you do, the more you stay consistent, perfection will come and you will get better in whatever you are doing. But back to the topic of flow, which comes to topic 2 of flow. Sometimes it's okay to just flow with life and let things happen organically and natural. Sometimes I think we also want to force things when force also comes with pain sometimes, hurt sometimes. Sometimes, for example, I know I have forced relationships sometimes, friendships sometimes, even business ventures and things in my life where I thought it was the right time, but it truly wasn't. And it caused me to be in pain or caused me to hurt when I could have prevented that instead of forcing something that wasn't natural, that I may have known it was unnatural, or I may didn't know it was unnatural. But when you force things, you almost make it a 50-50 chance of, okay, things may not go completely correct because I'm forcing things. I think there's a beauty in making things happen and letting things happen organically and naturally, because when things happen organically and naturally, there's a genuineness that you can't buy or you can't get when you force things. That's why it's good to sometimes just let things flow. Flow like an ocean, flow like a river. Just let it flow, you know? I truly resonate and really feel this second topic with flow because things really in the world, I feel like everything is being forced sometimes. Everything is moving so fast and everything is being forced, whether that's people trying to force things on people or people trying to force relationships or trying to force whatever instead of just letting things happen naturally. For example, some of my best relationships, some of my best things in life happened when stopped. I took my hands off of it. I stopped being in control and just let it happen naturally. Let the love come naturally. Let the friendship come naturally. Let the job or my passion come naturally. On the topic of passion, sometimes you're looking for what is it that I am passionate about, or what is it that I can do? Because you see everybody else doing what they love and doing what they are passionate about. Sometimes your passion is right in front of your face. For example, it took me a little minute to understand my passion was clothing. It's so easy for me to put things on. It's so easy for me to dress up and get dressed and always look like I'm walking off of a runway. And that was my passion. Yes, you might have many passions, but your passion is always something you do on a daily without even knowing. That's why flowing and letting things happen naturally and organically is so beautiful. We even force passion, whether that's passion of love, passion of friendship. And on the love topic, because I love love and because love is something that makes the world go around. Whether you see that or understand that or not, this may hit you another day or it may hit you now. But love makes the world go around. Because you have the love of love, people loving love, people wanting to be in a relationship, people wanting to be needed, people wanting to be wanted. But then you also have the love of power, people wanting to be in power, the love of it that runs and fuels certain things. So let me ask all of my listeners a question. What is it that you love? But also, you know what? Let me make it a two-part question. What is it that you love? But also, what is it that you're not letting flow naturally and organically? I promised I'll keep it transparent with you guys. So let me go first. One thing that I love, or that is fueling love behind things that I do, is I love love. And sometimes genuinely, as a male, this is hard to say because a lot of the time, males are taught to, especially in the black culture and the African American culture, we're taught to be tough, not to show your emotions and not to do this and that. But I love love and I love it so much that sometimes I put myself down on why don't I have the love? Like, why don't I have my person yet? But that comes with the topic that we're talking about right now. with letting things happen organically. Every time that I have forced a relationship, yes, it may have been good for the time being, but it was temporary, because anything that is forced, I'm not going to say all the time, but about 50% to 60% of the time, is not going to have the stability and the foundation. For example, let me paint all my listeners and everyone who is listening a picture. As you will build a house, you have foundation, correct? And you need foundation in order for the house to stand over time, so that it can stand the hurricanes, so that it can stand the tornadoes, so that it can stand the storm of that life may throw at it, that the world may throw at it. So why don't we want to build and make sure we have the foundation before anything, which means letting things happen organically and naturally. This is something I even struggle with. Not building a strong foundation. The foundation of letting things happen organically and naturally is good. It's such a beauty in that. And I know I've said that before. I know I've probably said that multiple times throughout this podcast, but there is such a beauty in that. And forgive me, listeners, because I am a little hoarse right now, but I'm still pushing through. And that's why sometimes we just gotta flow even when it hurts. I know we hurt sometimes as people. That brings me to my third topic. See, I wasn't even going to go there route, but thank you. That brings me to my third topic. Sometimes, even through the pain, we have to continue to flow. I know sometimes it hurts, and it's okay to sometimes take that break and heal, but you don't want to be stagnant in that position of hurting. You want to continue to flow, but also heal. And healing comes with flowing. It comes with progressing. It comes with continuously getting up every day. Because eventually things will change. For example, in my religious and in my religion stance and in my Christianity relationship with God, the beauty of flowing is staying in rhythm, staying in sync, as music or as notes does, or as a song does. It stays in rhythm, the flow of something. If you can catch the flow, if you can catch the movement, if you can catch the consistency, what would your situation or your life turn out to be? Don't let fear or past trauma or being scared hinder you from the flow, hinder you from the unknown, hinder you from an organic and a natural relationship and what you've been waiting for, what you've been desiring. For all my listeners who are like me and love and want to have your one, want to have your Barack or your Michelle or your Beyonce, your Jay-Z, or your whoever. If you force it, and for all my listeners, I want to give a disclaimer out that throughout this podcast, there might be points and things that hurt or hit you in your heart a little bit, and not intentionally hurt or not a painful hurt, but just like a slap in the face or a punch or a little oomph that kind of wakes you up or make you feel something. And that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. We are family. So, family sometimes have to give you that extra oomph, that extra push for you to understand and to see things. I know for me right now, this is kind of like a punch in the face. This kind of little little punch in the gut. As we are done with the topics, I want to stay on this topic of love and this topic of relationships. I don't know why I feel it's very strong right now, but it's a beauty being single. There's a beauty, such a beauty that comes in being single because you can grow, you can truly find yourself. And once you find yourself, once you continue that flow of being happy in you, because sometimes, for example, me, I wanted love so bad that I didn't even know myself, that I didn't even want myself deep down. Yes, I saw myself on a day-to-day basis. And yes, I knew, but I didn't receive it. I didn't accept it. And as soon as I accepted it, as soon as I understood that there was a beauty in my singleness and growing and maturing and understanding me and navigating and getting through the trauma, the pain that other forced relationships or other relationships have left a scar or a mark with me. Once I got over that and understood the beauty of me and understood the happiness within me, you start living for yourself. Your desires change a little bit. Yes, you still want your person, but you are so happy and so beautiful with who you are and loving with how everything in your life is and the beauty of being alone. Being alone and lonely is two different things, and I think we as people kind of get them mixed up and confused. Being alone is just accepting and understanding that I am alone. Being lonely is deeper. Loneliness, matter of fact, listeners, I want everyone to do this with me. I'm going to look up the definition of loneliness. And I want all of my listeners, if you can, to look up the definition of lonely and the definition of alone. But if you can, or if you don't want to, I'm going to look them up for you. The definition of alone: having no one else present on one's own, indicating that something is confined to the specified subject. Now we are going to look up the definition of lonely. The definition of lonely: sad because one has no friends. A deeper definition says of alone: the beauty and irony of alone's major theme that a feeling isolated, different, misunderstood is one that many people can relate to. The very act in expressing these feelings through poetry, connecting the writer with other who feels the same. The last part doesn't really matter, but let's go back to the first part. The beauty and irony of alone. The beauty in being alone. As I end this first episode, I would like to leave you with 3 questions. And this might be a frequent thing that I do: leave you guys and leave my family, which are you all, with 3 questions to ask yourself. Even ask the people around you, even tell the people around you to ask them their self these questions. Do I understand the beauty within me? Number one. Two, what is it that I am forcing and not letting happen or come to me organic and naturally? Three, what is it that I am scared and fearing of stepping out on or just starting on? What is it that I haven't started on due to fear that I know I should start on, that I have no reason to wait, but I want to move in perfection? What is it that I'm trying to perfect that I can start now? In other words, ask yourself that. Thank you for listening to this first episode of the Worldly World podcast. Many more to come. We are a weekly podcast. We drop weekly, and there's many more things we will do on this podcast. So I would like to say I love you, W family. Until next time.